Now, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that I like to see life through a framework of 6 areas of our life. And if you're watching on YouTube or on Spotify, we're going to put the graphic for this framework up right here. What I like to call it is the hexagon of competence. And we have 6 areas of our life: our health, our personal life, our career, our finances, our spiritual life, and our relationships. Every single one of us has those 6 areas of life. And we experience problems and opportunities in each of those 6 areas. And it's my deep down belief that the biggest mistake that people make in life that absolutely crushes them to the core is when they neglect one area of life at the expense of maybe improving on another area of life. And when you neglect one area of life for a particularly long period of time, negative consequences are going to occur. So what do I mean by that? That means like if you neglect your health for one day, you're probably not going to have any negative consequences. If you neglect it for a week, if you neglect it for a month, if you neglect it for a year, for 5 years, 10 years, you're probably going to experience some negative consequences, not just in the health area of your life, but that's going to permeate into the other areas of life, because you are a multitude of beings in your life. You're not just you and your career, you're you and your health, you're you and your relationship, so on and so forth. And that means a problem in one area of life doesn't just stay in that area of life, it seeps into the other areas of life. And so we need to understand that. And so we need to make sure that we have a certain level of focus in all areas of life at any given point in time. And what so many people do is they maybe fully dedicate themselves to their career and they neglect their health. And then they wake up 10 years down the road and they're 40 pounds they're overweight and they're like, what the hell happened? Or they fully dedicate themselves to their career, or maybe they fully dedicate themselves to their health and they don't dedicate enough time with their significant other, their spouse or their family members. And then they find themselves divorced after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And so it's this neglect that leads to negative consequences. And so we want to make sure that we're always spending some focus, and I like to say it, some time, energy, and attention in all 6 areas of life. And these finite resources of time, energy, and attention are exactly that. They're finite resources. We can't spend 3 hours a day in all 6 areas every single day. We have to have some give and take. There needs to be an opportunity cost. Some days we're going to spend an hour on our health. Some days maybe 2 hours on our health. Some days maybe 15 minutes. Some days maybe none. Who knows? So we have to figure out how to integrate and how to apply our time on a weekly basis in a manner through which is most impactful for us and for you, given the season of life that you're in. There might be seasons of life where you can really go gung-ho on your health and you're maybe spending less time on your career, or vice versa, or in any area of life. And that's fine. That's why we have different seasons of life. And so really the first step after I give you that context is to assess what season of life you're in. And so what do I mean by that? That means that I'm going to have another graphic here if you're watching on YouTube or on Spotify. The left wheel is about evaluating the status in each area of your life at the current time. I like to ask people, okay, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rank your current level of performance in each of the 6 areas? Meaning 5 is I'm crushing it. 5 is I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I've got the habits, I'm getting the results, so on and so forth. 1 is, man, I'm really sucking in this area of life right now. Like I'm nowhere where I want to be. I never am doing the right habits. Like my results are really crappy right now. Where do I currently stand? And so you rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, your current level of performance in all 6 areas. And I think all of us can do that. We all have a certain internal sense of where we stand in these 6 areas. And you got to be honest with yourself. And while you're ranking yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, you'll kind of have certain justifications and certain reasonings in your head. If you rank yourself a 2 in a particular area, you have a reasoning for why you're putting down 2. And if you put a 5 down for an area, you have a reasoning for why you're putting down a 5. And so once you have ranked yourself in all 6 areas and you have come up with your current status in all 6 areas, then you look at them and you're like, okay, which area is maybe the lowest level of performance? Or another way you could ask the question is, which of these 6 areas am I currently most frustrated with right now? I also like to ask a question, if all areas of the performance, if all 6 areas stayed the same, but I could change one of them, I could improve one area, which would make the biggest positive impact in my life? And so if you Ask yourself those questions and you realize, my relationships right now, it is really bugging me. It is really nagging me deep down. It is very frustrating. I really need to work on my relationships. Like, sure, I'm not exactly where I want to be in my career, but like if I'm there for the next few months, then so be it. Yeah, I'm not exactly happy where I am with my health, but it's not terrible. And if I'm staying at that level of performance with my health the next few months, then so be it. But my relationships, man, they're really killing me. And you could feel that way about any other area of life. Then it's like, okay, let's pick that area to dedicate more time, energy, and attention than we're used to. And what I like to define that as is to spike in that particular area. So step one was to assess, figure out where you stand in all of those 6 areas. Step number 2 is to aim. What I mean by aim is to determine which of those 6 areas you're going to spend more time, energy, and attention than you typically would do, with the goal and with the intention of making dramatic progress or eliminating that frustration that you're currently experiencing in that area of life. And then you have to do a little bit of work on yourself, being like, okay, what does it look like? What kind of goal could I set in this area of life so that I would eradicate my frustration, or at least to a large degree eradicate a lot of the frustration. It might not be perfect by the end of these next 3 months, let's say, but it's going to be a whole hell of a lot better than I am right now. And that's what I would think about. I would think about it on a 3-month time frame. I think 3 months is a great amount of time where you can make significant progress, but it's not too long to where you kind of get bored with a particular goal, or something in your life changes and you're in a different season of life. And so you want to assess where you currently stand, then aim by picking one of the areas to spike in, and determine what that means, determine what goal you want to set, determine what habits you want to form, and then you act. You find a way to document your performance. You find a way to document whether or not you're following through with the habits that you are laying out for yourself, and you find a way to track whether or not you're making progress on your goals. So you set up some sort of scoreboard, whether that's an Excel file, a sheet of paper, a poster board, whatever fires you up, whatever form of a scoreboard fires you up. You want to make sure that you're acting and you're holding yourself accountable, because what gets measured gets managed. And so you want to make sure you're holding yourself accountable to a high standard. And I would recommend probably finding some sort of accountability partner, some sort of a coach, or something to be able to push you so that you can really make the progress that you want to make.